I think that speaking to a lot of business owners and clients, a lot of the times they think that AI and automation should automate their entire business. And they are always looking for AI tools that can do everything. So they'll often ask questions like, what's the best AI tool for this and all that. But I think a lot of the times they're just trying to use AI tools for the sake of using AI tools as opposed to actually being productive and actually saving time, because oftentimes like I may suggest a tool like ChatGPT and Claude to help with, quite a lot of things in their business, but they may not be happy with it because it's like, I need everything to be automated, everything to be AI. But it may actually be counterintuitive because it may waste you more time in learning the tool than trying to like make sure everything is streamlined so that it flows together and connects together. Whereas if you do use a couple of AI tools very well, I think you'll be ahead of a lot of other companies, rather than trying to cram in 1,000 AI tools together and sort of like have a Frankenstein of an automation. So
Hyper automation is no longer a thing of the future. It is here. AI is reshaping how we work, create, and connect. And today, I want to ask, can we build a world where technology enhances our humanity rather than completely replace it? I'm Cien, and on The Human and the Machine, we explore how life is being reshaped as we know it, talking to the founders, builders, and thinkers navigating the intersection of AI and human potential. Today's guest is Nat Choppersert, one of the biggest AI influencers on both TikTok and Instagram. She's on a mission to demystify AI and make automation not just powerful, but personal. Through her consulting, viral content, and AI newsletter, she's teaching businesses how to implement AI without losing the human touch. From e-commerce to AI-driven automation, Nat has seen how technology can amplify human potential, but also where it falls short. The big question is, how do we use AI to work smarter without losing what makes us human? Nat, you've definitely inspired me to start my channels. Welcome to the show.
thank you, Cien. It's a pleasure to be here. And you've inspired me with your Launch Lemonade app as well.
Okay, so my first question is, automation is supposed to free up time, yet so many businesses struggle to get it right. What's the biggest misconception about AI automation and where should businesses start?
I think that speaking to a lot of business owners and clients, a lot of the times they think that AI and automation should automate their entire business. And they are always looking for AI tools that can do everything. So they'll often ask questions like, what's the best AI tool for this and all that. But I think a lot of the times they're just trying to use AI tools for the sake of using AI tools as opposed to actually being productive and actually saving time, because oftentimes like I may suggest a tool like ChatGPT and Claude to help with, quite a lot of things in their business, but they may not be happy with it because it's like, I need everything to be automated, everything to be AI. But it may actually be counterintuitive because it may waste you more time in learning the tool than trying to like make sure everything is streamlined so that it flows together and connects together. Whereas if you do use a couple of AI tools very well, I think you'll be ahead of a lot of other companies, rather than trying to cram in 1,000 AI tools together and sort of like have a Frankenstein of an automation. So I'm a big fan of, mapping out your entire process and seeing where exactly in your business are you doing the most repetitive kind of work. That is like the low hanging fruit that you can just automate very quickly and focus on. Because if you're doing something that's like once a week or, twice a week, it's not really worth spending like, 20 hours trying to automate that, because in an entire year, like, you're not going to be saving time net. So I would be looking at things that, you do every single day, and you might do it like a couple times a day. And that each time you do it may take 10 minutes or so. And over a year, that would be massive time gains and product. So yeah, definitely like map that out and spend like maybe a couple hours, like just drawing that entire process out. Like I'm very visual. I don't know about other people. Like when I draw it out, I can see where exactly are the gaps that I need to fill in. And, having a bird's eye view is very helpful.
As what pays the bills is my consultancy, and I find that it's difficult to explain this to potential clients, how you want to start small and identify that
Yes.
task, and then think about, okay, how do we progress from here? Do you, as based on kind of like all the clients that you've spoken with so far, do you find it also difficult to convince them of to start small, or does that conversation flow?
I think that you've got two, I mean, generally I have two types of clients. The one that I was speaking about earlier, where they expect everything to be automated. I think that the level of understanding of AI is not like super high, whereas the people that understand it and have actually used it and tested it understand that it can't do everything well right now, but there's a lot of trial and error involved. So they understand that if you use a couple of tools very well and they're trying to tweak those little bits, that it can propel their business even further with those little tweaks and understanding of a couple of main tools. So yeah, I find that the people that have used it and understand it more get it. Yeah. I know we speak about AI tools a lot, like, and you may have seen a lot of influencers talk about like lots of different cool tools, but it may be suitable for some industries or some people that may use it a lot, but not for I don't know, an accounting business or a lawyer. Like they're not going to be using, those AI video generators or image generators quite as often as someone who's in, the art industry of graphics design. So that's why choosing specific tools is very important. Like understanding where you use it a lot makes it worth it. Otherwise, you end up with like paying for lots of different tools and not using it much.
And I find that really insightful because you are one of the very first AI automation consultants in the market that I know of. And I wanted to ask it, in the past year, more than I guess year and a half now, do you think the market's understanding of AI capabilities has changed? Like has the market started understanding its limitation, or do you find that a lot of people still think that it could magically solve everything?
I think that the audience that I have are quite well educated in AI and tech, but I also think that there are also a lot of beginners that have never used any other AI tool other than ChatGPT. So we have maybe three different types of audiences, but like I just found like speaking to people in real life, not on the internet, that they also have only used ChatGPT and they don't know about other AI tools like Claude or Perplexity and stuff like that. And so I think that, a lot of people are still early to this as well, which is good for like people that, already have an understanding of tech and AI, and they could possibly educate others who may not have used it or possibly didn't believe in AI previously and now trying to catch up. So yeah.
I love that. Okay, on to my next kind of theme. And I want to segue a bit to the human using the AI and the consumer. Can you share a moment from your conversations or perhaps from, like you working with your audience, how it strengthened human relationships in a business setting rather than completely replacing a particular task, for example?
Yeah, I mean, if experts or specialists in their industry or in their niche are able to use AI and automation together, it can really speed up their workflow. And I think that it doesn't have to be so robotic or spammy if you do it with taste. And so I find that a lot of people, like, I mean, us as humans, like, if we can sniff that it's AI generated or automated even, then we're not going to pay as much attention. But there are ways to, like, make it more customized so that it feels like it's human. And that's the way I love to use AI and automation. Like, I'm not a fan of, like, just sending out thousands of emails in one go and it's just all like, all the same, or, not customized specifically. And that's how I've always done it. Even prior to AI and automation, I was doing that in my e-commerce business where I would customize the first email, but then the rest of it would be automated. But it was just that first initial email that was tailored to them that they realized like, oh, that's a human that's like writing this email. Whereas I've tested the other way where I was like, oh, I wonder if I could just automate the first email, like, and then everything after that as well. The results were massive. Like I got like not many opens. Whereas when I sent that first email with the customized one, probably like 90% of people opened it. So yeah, it was a massive difference when you customized. And that's the way that I think people should be approaching it, like now, especially now with AI automation.
I've
So
never heard that strategy before. Like it's either full
really,
automation or
yeah,
you do manual emails, but in
yeah,
bulks. So that
yeah.
is really interesting. I love that. I might just steal that one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it definitely makes it. I think like you definitely use AI and automation, but use it in a way that like makes sense from your customer's point of view and your point of view as well. And just use it to sort of fill in the gaps of where you may repeat yourself and then automate that part. Because the companies or the businesses that can reach the clients faster, tend to win because they're able to get things out faster.
And I can see this being applied in your content as well. Like I've been watching your videos for quite a while now, and you have frameworks, but they're always fresh, and it's always human. Like it's always you, even though you apply certain frameworks in your content on Instagram and TikTok. Speaking of Instagram and TikTok, your videos simplify AI in a way that's fun and engaging. Something tech has lacked. Since I think you, Sabrina, Kyle, you've been really good at doing this. What have you learned about teaching AI through short form content? And do you think AI itself will ever be able to create content that feels truly human?
Well, when I create short form content, even from the very beginning, I always came from the perspective of being a beginner because I was. And because I was a beginner, I had to really break things down because I find it really hard to understand tech jargon and all these complicated things. Like, what does context window mean? Like, why is that important? And so when I can sort of break that down in my own brain by drawing pictures, I'm very visual, and also like asking why this particular news or why this particular feature is important to business owners, because a lot of times people say technical jargon, but it means completely nothing to the business owner and they don't really care about that. So I find ways to sort of look at it from how can a business owner use this and would it be actually important to them at all? And having practical use cases where I will test it out. Like I spend hours testing things out just so I can make that 1 minute video. And so I think that's what my audience appreciates, is that I've actually tested it out and found a particular business use case. Whereas I think a lot of times you're often shown, the theoretical side of how the tech can be used, but it's not really practical. No one's going to practically use that. So yeah, it's just being able to find different angles and ways that business owners can use it in a productive way. To your other question of whether or not AI can create human-ish content, I think that looking at what's available on Instagram and TikTok right now, I've watched some AI videos that are really good. Like I'm just like, wow, how did you like even make that? And I think there's some really talented people that are creating this. And like at the end of the day, the content can be AI, it can be human, but as long as it's, capturing the attention and making you feel things like AI, some of the AI content has made me feel sad or happy or, like those are real emotions that us as humans are experiencing, but it's created by AI. But then when you look even further, it's like a human would have had to direct this, or a human would have had to create this on the back end. And so at the end of the day, it's still a human creating it. even though it's AI. And so that's my point of view with AI content.
Would you, I know there's a chat with Nat, but I think, it's clearly an AI. Like you don't, sugarcoat. You tell everyone that it's the AI, an AI avatar of you. It's a version of you. But would you ever consider actually delivering content as an avatar, or everything that automated?
I would love to. That's my dream. I have been contemplating creating content using my AI avatar, but I probably wouldn't completely 100% outsource it out because I still do enjoy creating content. Like it feels like, good to actually speak and talk about my points of view in tech and AI to my audience, but I would probably use it for things like the news, where, perhaps that could be automated quite well from the start to the end. But things like where I'm giving my perspective or, opinions, maybe that is left for me because I'm sort of like an open book, like my emotions, like I can't hide my emotions kind of things. Yeah. Whereas the news, it can be potentially automated in such a way. So yeah, I guess like picking and choosing what you want to use automation for makes sense. So yeah.
I like that. Okay. You went from running a successful e-commerce brand to leading an AI-focused business. That's a huge shift from my perspective, but maybe it isn't from yours. What's one lesson from your early entrepreneurship days that still shapes how you think about AI today?
I think that something that I learned while I was running my e-commerce store, I mean, I was, it was running, I was making money, we were, operating as a business. But I always sort of found it hard, like in hindsight, compared to this business where everything feels a lot more easier. And I was wondering, like, why did I like run this business for so long and it just felt hard the entire time? And I think that it all sort of came down to one thing, which was ikigai. And I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a Japanese term where you have a cross section between the four things, which is like doing what you love, doing what can make you money, and then what the world needs. And what was the other one?
What you're good at, I think.
Yeah, what you're good at. Yeah, that's it. What you're good at. And so for a long time, I sort of just thought, okay, if I produce a product, like people buy it kind of thing. But what I realized with what a lot of my friends or other business owners came to me for was for marketing. And I was like, why don't you buy my product? Yeah, a lot of people were interested in my content, which I did for my business. And they were like, can you do the same for me? And I'm like, I'm not in that business, but like I should have probably picked up on the signs early on. I just sort of like was very narrow focused on what I was like on the business, whereas I didn't see that, there was another part of what I was doing that was attracting people to me as well. And so it wasn't until I started the other TikTok account, which is Brand Nat now, that I realized that like I was focusing on not my strengths. Like I should have focused on what I was good at and lent into that. And yeah, finding out what I was good at and doing more of that. Yeah.
Did you actually map out your ikigai, or kind of like you
Yes.
realize?
I love mapping it out, especially on ChatGPT. It sort of like just maps it out all for me and sort of finds out a deeper level of what, my ikigai is. And so, yeah, we've gone back and forth a lot on this. And it's a massive part of how the direction of where I take this business. So yeah, the other thing I wanted to say was, and this relates to the ikigai, but opportunity vehicles, which is something that I heard, I think, from Alex Hormozy, but he was just saying like, if you have the same person working on one opportunity versus another, that same person could be operating on, say, like a newspaper business, and they're really good at marketing and they've done everything correct and really well, but it's still not gonna give you the best opportunity compared to, say, if you were working on AI at the moment, or, social media, because newspaper is a sort of a dying market. You could do all the best work you can, but the market's not there. Whereas if you do the same amount of effort or even less in social media or AI and tech, you could propel yourself even further, like exponentially, compared to if you use the same amount of effort in the other opportunities. Yeah, that was interesting to me. And it's still something that I think about every day.
I love that. And it totally makes sense. Like, I think that people are, like especially like us, and maybe, and perhaps we live in an echo chamber, but it is very exciting that there is this thing that is allowing us to almost scale ourselves exponentially without kind of overhead costs or too much risk, because also think it is easier. But is there, just kind of like looking at the other side of it, is there anything that concerns you about the opportunity that AI is bringing?
I think that I would be concerned about other people, or even me actually, consuming content that may not be true because it's been AI generated. Like, I mean, last week or the week before, I came across some content that was around health, and it was, the AI, now I realize it was an AI avatar, but like she was just talking about all these health opportunities where you could improve your health. But I didn't realize that she was AI, and I didn't realize that the product that she was trying to sell at the very end was not as, I mean, I guess it was a bit shady than what she was promoting. But yeah, just things like that, misinformation. I know that, for other people who may not be so involved with AI and tech, they may not realize that it's AI, and they may fall for things, that may not be true. So stuff like that. And also, I guess not, having tech run your business, you may get to the point where you may not be understanding what it's doing in the back end and what's going on. And just being on top of what it can do and sort of troubleshooting or debugging things on the back end if it doesn't work out, may be very useful or good to know.
It is a key skill. I think if you learn how to debug, you don't, I think now you don't have to learn how to build or code. But if you
Yes,
learn a little bit about the back end so that you can debug and fix, I think it's definitely
yeah,
a good skill.
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
And the last question that I like to ask my guest is, and you've answered this in many ways throughout our conversation, but what do you think does it mean to be human in the time of intelligent machines?
I think that, yeah, like with AI and automations, I think that it's still very important to have taste and creativity when it comes to anything that you create using AI and automation, just because at the end of the day, we are still serving humans. But yeah, if you can do it in such a way that is creative and unique, that's where you'll stand out. And using your expertise in your field or your area, like you can still win. Um, and just exploring ways to bring out more of yourself, I think will be very valuable. And I think that AI is still really good at, I mean, in the future, empowering us to do what a sort of an extension of us, because previously you may not have been able to create AI like videos of, some really crazy scenes and stuff, but now you can using AI. So you may not have been a movie director, but we may see movies directed by some guy in a basement, like, who's never been in Hollywood before. So it's really like expanding our capabilities as humans.
I love that. Well, all of my listeners would know where to find you, but is there anything you'd like for the listeners to check out specifically?
Yeah, so I have a website called futureailab.com. You can sign up to my newsletter, and yeah, I have a lot of articles over there as well. Yeah.
I'll be including the links in the description. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Human and the Machine. Nat, thank you so much for breaking down AI automation in a way that makes it feel not just accessible, but actually human. For everyone listening, if this episode made you rethink how AI fits into your work and life, send it to someone who's still on the fence about automation. And if you want more real conversations about where technology meets humanity, make sure to subscribe and join me next time. Until then, Stay curious, stay bold, and stay human.